Hey everybody, it's Erik with District82. A couple weeks ago I made a video about, using NVRAM, or I sent a picture I should say, memory cap, lithium batteries. Basically don't use alkaline batteries, right? The number one thing I prefer is the NVRAM, which would be like the 6116s here for a System 11 game board. But it's soldered in, right? And if you don't know how to solder, or desolder I should say, that's a lot of work. At the very minimum, what you should do is you should do a remote battery pack, which is what this is. They cost $1. They're from China, okay? Free shipping, buy like a 5 or a 10 pack. I always get the 4-pack with a cover, and that's what the ones that cost $1. The reason I get the 4-pack instead of just the 3-pack is that you can stick a diode in here, okay? Once you stick a diode in here, the game won't try to recharge your batteries. Alright, there is one already on this particular generation of game, but if you don't know what generation of game you're working on, or if you don't know if it has it or not, if you buy one and stick an extra one in there, you're not going to hurt anything. So, first things first, let's take off the old battery pack. It's real simple. It's soldered in. You don't need to desolder it. Let's just clip the six things off. And I can see from right here, this one's already acid damaged as well. Look at that. It broke off and the tab is still sticking there because this one leaked, and the person that replaced these, it probably didn't work. Okay, so now let's pop the battery, because these are actually some lithiums. We'll reuse these that were in here. Alright, so now we got the board. Probably should clean that up a little bit. Take that off. Desolder that a touch. I'm going to do that from the back and just pull that out so that it's gone. If you got a real desoldering iron, it doesn't take very long to do that. There you go. Now it's out. If you want to clean up the top side, you can, but it's not really necessary. We're not going to be using that pad anymore, okay? But what you got here now is you got your battery pack removed. We want to put our new battery pack on. Alright, first make sure your desk is nice and dirty, otherwise you'll be able to find stuff too easily. Alright, so let's put the diode in here. The easiest way to remember how to put the diode in, you got the banded side, okay? If you buy these pre-printed ones with the battery that's already like printed on it, I don't know if you can see that, you put it in one of the two ends and just have your gray blocking part of the diode at the same configuration as your battery there. You see the little tab right there for the positive side? So you just put your thing in that way. Alright, first thing though is you rough up the ends so your solder will stick. Otherwise the solder, it's harder for it to stick. We stick the diode inside of here. Alright, just kind of balance it. Now I'm going to take my solder. Solder it on. Boom, that side. And then do this side.
He does. He does. What's Steve here for?
Alright, so now your battery's in there, or your diode's in there I should say. Make sure it's hooked up to both sides. It is. Okay, so now you got your battery pack that has like these 6-inch leads on it. It's just going to dangle here. It's not long enough. Or else you could glue it on, but it doesn't really fit. Or I should say double tie tape it on. So I just make a little extension of wires and put that on there. If you've never soldered before, this is something you should be able to do. So I always, first put some solder on the wire on both sides until it sticks. Okay? Then you put some solder on these wires until it sticks. Then you know that your wire is good to go. Okay? Then get yourself some shrink tubing. You could use electrical tape too, but that doesn't look very good, and if you're buying the really cheap electrical tape, it only looks good for like a day. Then it looks terrible once it heats up. So put the shrink tubing on, and then Solder your two wires together. So once you got solder on both of them, you don't actually have to put fresh solder on, if you just did it. Alright, so now that's on there. Let's pull our sleeves over the exposed wire. Alright, now it's hanging. Grab your heat gun, heat it up, just shrink them down. Alright. Okay, so now the bottom line is, if I ever buy a game and I see that someone took the time to put shrink tubing on it, I'll still check it, on both ends to see if the wire's good, but 99% of the time I know somebody actually took the time to solder the wire underneath. If I just see it like all electrical taped, I always pull it apart, because more than likely someone just twisted the wires together and they don't know what they're doing, so then they use electrical tape. It's a good sign of who doesn't know what they're doing. Okay, so now let's put the wires on. A lot of people like to solder it on the back for a more clean look. I personally don't care. You're not looking in the back box unless you know what you're doing anyway. And if you have the wires out front, you know that someone put it on there, and you know that it's attached right, because you can actually see it. So I always just stick it on the front of this, and then you just solder it to two of the pads. Now, which two pads do you solder it to? Well, what you do is you look at the back and you go, okay, well, this one's going out to the diode, and then this one's going back, and the other ones are just connected in series. So it's going to be this one for the positive and this one for the negative. Alright, so then we just flip it over and we go, okay, so it's this one and this one. Put a bunch of solder on it, and you can pull that existing tab out, or the existing pin out if you want. And then this one, we just put fresh solder on it. Get those tabs out of there. Alright. I'm not sure if this one fell out or not. Alright. Yep, they both came out. Alright. So then I just take the wires, and you could put a connector on here if you wanted to. I don't. I just solder it directly in. So here's our negative one. Solder it in. Boom. Good. Positive one, solder it in. Alright. And you can flip it over and just double check. They're good. Alright. So now you got this on here. You put your batteries in. Boom. Then you can grab your multimeter. And let's just double check to make sure we got 5 volts. Or I should say 4.5 roughly. And we got nothing. Okay, why do we have nothing? It's because this battery pack has an on-off switch on it. Alright, so if you flick the switch to on, boom, I got 5 volts. Alright. The 5 volts, the lithiums are a little bit higher. They're like 1.7 versus the regular alkaline, which are 1.6. So you get a little more voltage out of these. It's perfectly fine. Okay. And that's it. Now you want to check it right to the RAM chip if you got issues, and 4.7 to the RAM chip, because it's also going through another diode which reduces the voltage a little bit. But that's how long. I don't know what that took, 10 minutes or something, if you want to actually put a battery pack on a game, and instead of a memory cap or a NVRAM. And then what I do with these is I actually take some painter's tape, I wrap it Okay, and then I write the date on it on my black marker here, but it's new batteries, new lithium, 10, 17, 20, 20. And then you know you did it, when you did it, if you need to check it, etc. And that's how you put a battery pack on a game.